Hey there everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's time to compare the non-reasoning models, and Google has released their much awaited Gemini 2 Pro model. And with that release, the question arises, which is the best non-thinking model? The cult favorite Claude 3.5 sonnet or Gemini 2 Pro? So in this video, we'll be exactly comparing them to find out which is the best model when it comes to reasoning or coding. So I've compared them on the RKJ public dataset. I've compared them on a curated dataset of the Code Forces competition, and I'll be showing you all of these results. But first, let's get started with the testing. So this is the first question we'll be testing on. This is related to spatial reasoning, understanding the surroundings. So you can pause and have a look at this question. So let's see which model actually gets it right. So one of the biggest advantages of Gemini 2 Pro series is its blazing fast inference. As you can see, it's already completed its response. And let's see what the response is. And would you look at that? Gemini 2 Pro actually got it wrong. It says the water surface will appear to rise in the east, whereas Claude 3.5 Sonnet as always gets it right. It says the water appears to rise on the left side, which is the west side. And it actually tells about a real life example as well. It says this is similar to being on a ship. When the ship tilts to one side, the ocean appears to rise on the opposite side, even though it's actually the ship that is tilting while the water surface remains horizontal. As always, excellent reasoning from Claude 3.5 Sonnet, but I'm very shocked to see that Gemini 2 Pro actually got it wrong. So that is a fail. Now let's move on to the next question. Okay, so this is a next level reasoning question. Here you can see, here the model has to actually identify a logical pattern of letters repeating themselves. So the correct pattern is BAA, BAA, and the option is B. Let's see if the models are able to get it right. So let's send this. Meanwhile, let me tell you, we'll be using this Claude website until we reach the limit. After that, we'll be shifting to Open Router using the same model. Nothing's going to change. And as you see, 3.5 Sonnet gets it right. Again, it says the option is B, AABAA. Let's see if it was able to get the correct pattern. Here you can see, it says option A doesn't create a proper repeating pattern, option T doesn't, option D doesn't, and option B creates a repeating pattern. BAA, BAA, BAA. Absolutely awesome. Meanwhile, I'm absolutely shocked. Gemini 2 Pro gets this one wrong as well. It says the correct option is D. Again, a fail from Gemini 2 Pro model. Absolutely shocking. Let's move on to the next level. Okay, so this is our next question, and actually, no models other than the reasoning ones are able to get it right. As you can see, the diagrammatic representation of this question will be visible to you. And using the logic, you have to predict the last grid. Even you can pause and try this question out. So let's see if these models are able to get it right. So actually, this question is kind of interesting because you can try even the smallest of the reasoning models, they will get this right, but even the best of the best non-reasoning models will get it wrong. So here you can say Claude 3.5 Sonnet has absolutely got it wrong. Actually, the correct responses, all of these will be 0, and where it has mentioned 0, there it will be 1. So quite inverse of this one. Let's see if Gemini 2 Pro was able to get this one right. At least. Okay, so Gemini 2 Pro was not able to get this one right as well. With that said, let's move on to some hard reasoning questions. So these are some hard reasoning questions. Here you can pause the video and have a look at the question, and so let's see if these models are able to get it right. Most probably they will not be able to because it's kind of very hard. Because this question is very hard, and up until this point, no model has been able to get it right. Even if you consider O3 mini as well. Here you can see at the end we ask is, how many positions will be unchanged? So the correct answer is 1, and the person whose position will not change is Q. So let's see if the models were able to get it right. So 3.5 Sonnet says that there are 3 people whose position is unchanged, which is absolutely wrong. That's a fail. Talking about Gemini 2 Pro, here it says there are 2 people whose position will be unchanged. Again, that is a wrong answer. So both of the models have failed this, and it's quite obvious because even the reasoning models were not able to do this. So let's move on to the next question. Okay, so this is our first max question. I do have a very hard test set for the max questions, but I'm not using that because non-reasoning models are not that good in, max. So here you can see the question is quite simple. In a certain non-leap year, January 1 was Monday. What day of the week was April 1st of the same year? So anyone, if he sits and takes some time, will get to the correct answer, but let's see if these models are able to do it. So the correct answer is Sunday. Let's see. Here you can see the blazing fast inference of Gemini 2 Pro. It's already halfway through the answer and got the response, whereas 3.5 Sonnet is slow. Here you can see the response is April 1 was a Sunday, whereas Gemini 2 Pro gave us the wrong answer again. It says the final answer is Saturday. Gemini 2 Pro is performing very bad. So let's move on to the next question. Okay, so this next max question is based on geometry. You can pause and have a look at this question. And the correct answer is 19.5%. Let's see if these models are able to get it right. Even most reasoning models are, not able to solve this. it's just the OpenAI's reasoning model will get it right. Okay, so 3.5 sonnet done with its response. It says the correct answer is 8.99%, which is wrong. And that's a fail. Moving on, Gemini 2 Pro is done with its response. And again, it says the correct answer is 9.77%, which is again wrong. So both of the models have got it wrong. Meanwhile, let me actually show you this by testing it out on O1. Let's see. I'll be sending this question. Let's wait for a while. So as you can see, O1 has given us the response after 43 seconds of reasoning, and the correct answer is 19.6%. So both of these models were not able to solve this, and it's actually one of the easiest questions in my test. So if you are doing elementary level max questions, I think that in that case you can use these models, but other than that you should go with reasoning models, even the cheaper ones, because even they will be able to do it. So that was it about max. Let's move on to coding section. Okay guys, so this is our first question, and also the test environment is also ready. The question is simple. Write a snake game in Python using PyQt5. So I'm using the PyQt5 library because Pygame is actually the correct library to use, but that's kind of easy, and in most places you will see that. But generating this game in PyQt5 is kind of hard, and that's the reason we are specifically asking to generate in this. So I do think that 3.5 sonnet is done. Let's copy the code and let's see. Okay, so immediately we don't see any kind of errors, just some warnings. So let's run this. Okay, so it says process finished with an exit code 0. That didn't work for some weird reason. Let's do one thing. Let's do a retry on that. Meanwhile, let's see what Gemini has come up with. Let's copy the code. Let's see. So we don't see any kind of errors. Let's run this. Okay, so even this didn't work. So we'll have to give a retry to this as well. It's kind of absurd because I have never seen Claude 3.5 sonnet fail this. Anyways, it says that we are out of free messages, so we'll have to shift to open router. Let's see if this time the code works or not. So let's run this. Okay, so we have an error. PyQt signal is not defined. That is indeed again a fail. Let's see what Gemini 2 Pro has come up with. Let's copy this and let's paste it. Let's run this. Awesome. Okay, I've never seen this version of Snake game and it absolutely looks amazing. Let's see what happens if we collide. Your score is 60. Do you want to play again? Yes, and it plays again. Awesome. That is a perfect game. Let's do one thing. Let's actually test this on open router. Let's see. Okay, we do have the code. Let's copy this and let's try it out. And hopefully this time it should work. So we don't see any kind of errors. Let's run this. Okay, now it works. I don't know for what weird reason it didn't work on the Claude website, but here it works. So now if you are using the open router, we are not compromising on quality. So if we collide, the game just stuck. So okay, it is acceptable, but nowhere near to what Gemini 2 Pro was able to do. So technically both are fail, but if I have to compare, I think Gemini 2 Pro was better. Let's move on to some other interesting questions. Okay, so here we are going to create a JavaScript animation in which there will be falling letters with realistic physics. So let's send this and let's see which one gives us a better animation. Okay, so we have a response from both of the models and Gemini 2 Pro has given us a pretty long code. We'll get to that. Let's first test the Claude 3.5 sonnet's response. So let's paste this. Let's run. Okay, so it says invalid syntax. Let me actually try it on HTML viewer. Maybe it will work here. Okay, so it works here. Let's see. Okay, so there is some kind of a wall in between and the movement of the ball, I think I'm not sure about that. So for some weird reason it is not able to fetch the letters. I do think that it is using assets like these one, but it's not able to get it. Anyways, that is a fail from me. Let's see what Gemini 2 Pro has come up with. This is a pretty long code if you ask me, but let's copy this and let's see this in HTML viewer. Okay, so it's way too slow and this red ball is actually not interacting with them. Okay, so both of the models were not able to get this right. Okay, so this time we'll be asking them to create a React web page in which there will be a mascot in the middle and its eyes and expressions will follow the movement of my cursor. So if you go to the GitHub website, you will see that they have this kind of an implementation. So it's actually a real life use case. And let's see in this test how they perform. Okay, so we have the response from both of the models. Okay, so this time we'll be testing them on OpenAI canvas. So let's copy this and let's test it. Let's see. Okay, that looks cute. But in terms of expression, I don't think much is going on. Okay, so clicking, I do think that it is shifting between three expressions and also the cursor tracking is kind of accurate. That's nice. Moving on, let's compare with Gemini 2 Pro. Again, a pretty long code. Let's copy this and let's see. Let's open canvas in React viewer. Let's see. Let's click preview. Okay, so this is what we have. Option 1. The animation is quite basic, but I do think that it looks a bit better than what Claude 3.5 Sonnet gave us. I don't know what you guys think about it. And it has these three options, but all these three options seem to have a similar animation, but maybe I would slightly lean towards Gemini 2 Pro this time. Okay, so let's have a look at this question. Let me just do one thing. I'll mention Hollow. I think that will be kind of helpful for them. Okay, so both the models have done giving us their code. So let's copy Claude 3.5 Sonnet's response and let's check. So immediately we don't see any kind of errors. Let's run this. Okay, so it is asking us for an audio file. Let's mention that no audio assets will be provided. So let's mention this to 3.5 Sonnet. No audio assets will be provided, generated by yourself. Meanwhile, let's compare Gemini 2 Pro with it. So let me close this one. Let's see. So immediately we don't see any kind of errors. Let's run it. Okay, that looks awesome. But I don't think the animation is right. That is a clear fail. The animation was not right. Let's do one thing. Let's give it a retry, because anyways we are doing this for 3.5 Sonnet. Okay, so Claude 3.5 Sonnet is done generating. Let's copy the code and I think it should work. So we don't see any kind of errors. Let's run this. Okay, so it's asking for a two-dimensional stereo mixer. So it was not able to generate the sound. I'll ask it to give us the response without any sound. I think that will be better for this. No need for audio. Give updated code. Let's see. Let's end this, and meanwhile let's see what Gemini 2 Pro has come up with. So they are using the Pygame library as far as what I can see. Okay, so this time Gemini 2 Pro is asking for the audio file. We'll mention no need of audio, because again then it will get into the issue of stereo mixing and all of that, because frankly speaking even Owen gets into this issue every now and then. So let's copy this. Claude 3.5 Sonnet is done with its response. Let's see. So immediately no errors. Let's run this. Okay, that looks awesome, and it's pretty wild. Let me run this again. It was actually way faster. Here you can see the balls are hitting the wall and the movement is kind of slow, and suddenly it starts getting faster and slower weirdly. Okay, so that was better but not the best. Meanwhile, let's see what Gemini 2 Pro has come up with. Let's paste this and let's run it. Okay, so the ball is moving way slower. I don't know what is this obsession with being slow. Even in the letters animation we saw that Gemini 2 Pro actually came up with slow letters falling down. Okay, we can clearly say that the collision detection is working pretty nice. We do see that the model has mentioned the opening over here, but the actual opening is somewhere here. Other than that, I think the animation is working quite good. Okay, so that is clearly a pass from Gemini 2 Pro. Meanwhile, 3.5 Sonnet was not able to give us a very good response. The opening was good, but overall I think Gemini 2 Pro was better. Okay, so finally we'll be testing some questions on the Pygame library. This time we'll be using a slightly harder version of the snake game, and it's actually interesting. Have a look at the prompt. A Pygame where two AI snakes are competing for food. One can eat up another if it's bigger. Whoever is completely eaten up loses. So kind of interesting game. Let's see which model is able to get it right. Okay, so we do have a response from both of the models. Let's copy this and let's try. And let's see if they are able to get it right. Okay, so that was something. Let me try that out again. Okay, so I do think that the snakes are competing to get towards the food, but once one of them reaches, nothing happens actually. So that is not an accurate version. So before saying anything, let's actually look at Gemini 2 Pro as well. So no errors. Let's run this. Okay, that looks awesome. They are actually competing. And it's an game over. So I think comparatively we can clearly see that Gemini 2 Pro was actually better, whereas 3.5 Sonnet I do think was not able to give us a very good response. So again I think Gemini 2 Pro was better, and Gemini 2 Pro is actually having a very clear lead in coding performance compared to what we saw in the reasoning and max. Very contrasting scenarios. And finally, the Pac-Man game. Here we ask the models to create a state-of-the-art Pac-Man game in Python, and there are some specific constraints that we don't provide any external media files like audio or video or images as well. All of those things they have to generate by themselves if they want to, and the code also has to be a single code. So let's see which model is able to get it right. So if you compare the inference speed, you can see that clearly Gemini 2 Pro is way faster than 3.5 Sonnet, and I do think that even in their model description they have mentioned that this model is best for real-time streaming. Okay, so 3.5 Sonnet as always gives us part 1, and it says that would you like me to continue with the next part. So usually when 3.5 Sonnet does this, actually the code doesn't work, so I'll actually modify the prompt for 3.5 sonnet and mention that please give one single code in one go. Let's see. Meanwhile, Gemini 2 Pro is done with its response. Let's copy this and give it a try. So there are many point of failures. First of all, they would get the actual game wrong, or maybe they could have the audio issue. But let's see. Immediately we don't see any kind of errors. Let's run this. That didn't work. List index out of range. So let's give it one more try. One good thing about Gemini 2 Pro is it actually responds very good with feedbacks. Let's see if I am able to demonstrate it. So I've pasted there and let's say please fix this error and give the best version. Let's see. Meanwhile 3.5 sonnet is still generating. So both of the models are done generating. Let's try 3.5 sonnet. It has given us a complete code and the maze looks massive. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I think that didn't work. List index out of range. That is a fail. Meanwhile, let's try Gemini 2 Pro. Let's run this. Okay. Oh my god, that looks amazing. I haven't seen anything like this before. Even O1 models, I think O3 as well, doesn't give us such beautiful game. And the ghost is actually chasing us. I do think there is a mismatch between the walls and the tunnel that are presented. But still, that is a very good response. And again, a game over. Let's see how far can we take this. Let's ask it. There are some issues here and there. Fix all of them and give me the best you got. Let's see. What can we do with it? Okay, so we do have a code. Let's see. And I'm actually pretty excited. Let's run this. Okay, so now we have audio as well. That is awesome. Okay, so after a while, the ghost stopped moving. But it was a very good response. Okay, so let's move on to the image analysis. Here you can see I have pasted an image of a clock and the time is 8:05 and we are asking what time does the clock show. Let's see which model gets it right. So historically Gemini series of models have been the better ones and clearly that's visible in the response as well. It clearly says the clock shows 8:05, which is exactly right. Whereas 3.5 sonnet says the clock shows 10:40, the hour hand is between 10 and 11 and the minute hand is pointing to 8. So there is nothing between 10 and 11. So that is a fail from 3.5 sonnet. As I said, historically the Gemini series of models have been better at it. So let's try our hardest image recognition question. And as you can see, this is the question. It's a tree-like structure having various levels and branches in them. The question is quite simple. You are given a tree-like structure, count the number of levels and also the number of branches in each levels. Let's see if these models are able to get it right. So up until this point, no model has been able to get it right. Let's see if that changes. Okay, so we have the response and here you can see 3.5 sonnet clearly identifies that there are 7 levels, whereas Gemini 2 Pro says that there are 6 levels. And talking about the branches, here at the bottom we have 1, then 2, then 3, then 5, 8, 13 and 21. So according to 3.5 sonnet, we have 1 in level 1, then 2, 3, 5, 8. So up to level 5 it gets it right, and after that it should have been 13 but it says 11 and then 21. So 2 levels it got wrong. Meanwhile, Gemini 2 Pro couldn't get the number of levels. It might have got confused and came up with the wrong answer. Meanwhile, you can see that it considers the top one as level 1 and it correctly counts that there are 21 branches, which is actually impressive. But after that, instead of 13 it says 10, then instead of 8 it says 6, and similarly it gets rest of the levels wrong. So in terms of image recognition, I can surely say that currently models are not at their absolute best, how they are in various other domains. In image recognition we do see some things here and there. Okay, so up until this point we have used all the modalities that 3.5 sonnet has, text and image. But as we know, the Gemini series of models is a truly multimodal solution and they understand video and audio as well. So I do have very tailored tests for audio and video. Okay, so for the audio and video analysis, what we'll be doing is I'll be sending this video to Gemini 2 Pro. It's actually a 20-minute video from my channel, and here we have 10 questions and timestamps for that questions are mentioned. So we'll be just asking Gemini 2 Pro to identify where each question starts and mention the timestamps. Now as you can see, the model is converting the video into tokens. This can take quite some time because it's a 20-minute video. Okay, so it's 343,000 tokens. So it is way beyond what OpenAI and Claude 3.5 sonnet offer us. So this is the prompt: identify the number of questions and also the exact timestamp where they start. So let's see, let's run this. It should take some time because going through a 20-minute video is not that easy. Okay, so it says that there are four questions. That's absolutely wrong because there are 10 questions, and at least let's see the four questions it has mentioned if it has got the timestamps for these questions right. The first one it says that is at 1 3. So let's see 1 3. Nice. Next question at 4 8. 4 8. Awesome. Next one at 6 5, but the actual time is 5:37. Moving on to question 4, 7:28 is the right time, it says 7 6. So again a 30 time difference. So what I've seen is if you have a small video like it's 2 minutes or 3 minutes or an audio as well, then it is able to clearly split that into timestamps. But for very long videos like this, it is not able to get correct timestamps. But don't get me wrong, people have been using this and it has been quite useful for them. So I will highly encourage you to test this out. Anyways, Google Gemini is the only place where we have these modalities. So there is no competition up until now. Maybe if they have an actual competition, then they will improve on things like this. So we are done with the audio analysis. Now let's actually move to the real video test. Okay, so finally we'll be doing the video analysis, and this is going to be quite hard for these models. So usually, when you see people actually pasting some videos to Gemini models and asking them questions, they sometimes do a very good job at it. But that doesn't mean that they are very good in video, because there is a chance that they are just looking at screenshots and doing an image analysis frame by frame. That is the reason I came up with prompt like this. And here you have to actually track the movement of subject to give the correct answer. Here you can see it has to track in which cup is the lemon in the end of the video. So have a look. So as you saw, it has to actually track that object. And I'm sure if you have watched this clip, you will be knowing the right answer. So let's see, let's ask this question. So in which cup is the lemon in the end of the video? So it is done tokenizing. The tokens are 4426 tokens. Let's see. Okay. So it says the lemon is in the middle cup at the end of the video. As I said, currently they are not able to actually track the movement of any subject in the video. Let's ask one more question. As you can see, here it has to actually count how many stones were dropped. So you also have a look and count as the video plays. So I hope you were able to count. So now let's see if Gemini 2 Pro is able to get it right. So let's send this. Okay, so this time it is 8417 tokens. So it says that based on the video, a total of 6 stones were dropped into the cup. Again, that's a wrong answer. And with that, we do end our comparison. So what can we say? As per the results, we did see that clearly 3.5 sonnet was way better in reasoning and had a slight lead in max as well. As soon as we went to coding, we did see that Gemini 2 Pro was consistently better than Claude 3.5 sonnet, whether it comes to front-end development using React or Java animations, or back-end using Pygame. But as you know, these are random test, situations can vary. So actually, I did a test on the ArcAGI public dataset, and according to my testing, Claude 3.5 Sonnet scored 32.5%. And these are other models. You can see Gemini Flash scored 17.5 and GPT-4o Mini scored 8%. But Gemini 2 Pro, as you can see, I've actually took a screenshot of the testing interface. It actually scored 22.25% and got 89 questions right out of 400, whereas 3.5 Sonnet got 32.5%, a very big 10% difference. And if you don't know, this is the kind of interface. I am actually thinking to do the testing live in front of you guys. If you want that, do tell me down in the comment section. So that is a very clear distinction between two models. And if you don't know about ArcAGI, you have questions like these where you have to actually have very good understanding of spatial information and also logical thinking. Only then you will be able to get it right. Meanwhile, if you talk about coding performance, I've actually tested this on latest code forces question. Let me show you that. So I'm on cursor. Let me start the server and I'll show you. Okay, so the server is running now. Let me go to the server and let's see. So this is the complete arsenal of questions. If you check the oldest question as well, it is from August 20, and I've just seen that the knowledge cutoff of Gemini 2 Pro is indeed August 2024. So there could be some amount of contamination, but not much. If you look at the results, clearly you can see that Gemini 2 Pro excels with 33.5% accuracy, and Claude 3.5 sonnet got 26.7%. So the test was done on at least 364 questions, and there is some error in the total number of questions because it's a manual testing, but nonetheless you can see that there is some significant difference in the coding performance of Gemini 2 Pro and 3.5 sonnet, and that's exactly what we saw in the testing as well. So then, what is the best model? I do think that Claude 3.5 Sonnet still is the best non-thinking model. The reason being that the difference in coding performance is significant, yet scoring 32.5% is quite hard. And I have seen the level of questions in ArcAGI. It's actually kind of difficult. Maybe you can try this one, which is visible in front of you, just for starters. So scoring 32.5% is quite hard in it, but the model was able to do it. Clearly in coding performance, you will see Gemini 2 Pro doing a good job, but why I have given a win to 3.5 Sonnet? One more reason that I can think of is the weird nature of the models in the AI studio. As you can see, it is an experiment model, so the response from these models, Gemini 2 Pro experiment or its predecessor, that is Gemini 1206, or any other model from the AI studio, they can be a bit volatile, I mean, like their response can actually vary a bit and they are not very consistent. Whereas 3.5 Sonnet is a tried and tested model and it is very consistent in its responses given its intelligence. But if you actually want to use these models for coding, I can safely say that you can use any of these. Maybe you can lean towards Gemini 2 Pro as well, because even if it gives you some errors, it actually responds very good to the feedback that you give. So you will not be wrong with either of these models. So I hope I was able to give you a clear analysis of these two models, how they compare against each other and in various domains. If you think that this video was useful, then hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.